house is here. We are sitting with Michael, and he runs his own business. And today he's going to be giving us a viewpoint on society and how he views it from, where he stands and kind of just how he views society in a whole. So I'll go ahead and let Michael introduce himself right now.
Hey, man. My name is Michael. I'm born again Christian. I've been at it for about 15 years. I run a property management company where we deal with demolition, trash removal, evictions, tenant removal, and property restoration.
Okay. And you say that in this and the property restoration, you see kind of how people are living and how they basically kind of how they live their not day-to-day life, but you just kind of
Yeah, I see what they live, and honestly, to look at some of the stuff I see, it's not living. It's barely even considered survival.
Right.
I see drugs. I see the results of police raids, children's clothes next to needles, and just filth.
Do you believe that it could be society's doing, like the reason why they get to that point, or do you feel like it could be the individual?
I feel there's an element of society as a whole being accepting and even encouraging people not coming out of their own stuff. But when it really comes down to it, it's an individual choice. Like, people can make that choice daily. Yeah, it may take a little while, but daily making those right choices to be better, to be yourself better, can thereby make a better society.
Okay. Do you yourself, have you gone through anything like you can say that you're pretty much either not relatable or someone close to you that's relatable that you could see why they may have went?
I've seen all sorts.
Yeah.
That's a short answer, but I've come close myself to being homeless, to losing everything, to losing my parents, to just straight losing everything just by choices I've made. And because I caught myself early enough, or someone came alongside me early enough, I was able to be redirected the right way.
Okay. And that's amazing, because I know that a lot of people don't really have that insight. They don't see it as a, I don't not to get really more into it personally, but you feel like you had a kind of like a day of reckoning, something that woke you up that says, hey, I need to change, or it's going to get worse.
Yeah, and you'll probably speak to former drug addicts where they say they had a day of an epiphany.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think it's a day, that it's a sudden moment in about 99% of cases, but if you're really paying attention to what's going on in your life, you see what the results of your actions or your inaction is, you see this pattern and you see that slow spiral that if you catch yourself, you're going to catch yourself right.
Yeah.
And you can make those steps to readjust and get out of that.
Right.
And it could take days, it could take weeks, it could take months, it could even take years in some cases. But recognizing those negative patterns and making the right steps is key.
Right. So I'm not glad to hear that, because a lot of people, like I said before, they don't really see that, okay, I'm kind of messing up right here, let me stop, let me turn around, let me start all over again.
Yeah, exactly. It's not in the movies where you're drunk and you're hungover and you're like, I got to change my life, and the next week they've changed their life, they went from a gutter to a penthouse. That's not life.
Yeah.
That's a silly movie that barely broke even on its budget.
Yeah. And do you believe that a lot of people might categorize their lives and their experiences based off of media?
Yeah. Media is so available. It's right here. It's on your phone. You can look up anything, and whatever your mentality is and whatever you want to be swayed by, you can find that, and your search results will show that.
Yeah.
They'll show only those little things with those algorithms, because it's like, okay, you want this, so you're going to get that. You want something overpriced, well, you're going to get something overpriced every time you do a search history.
So what you put out there is what you're going to get received back. So even the research you put out there is the research that you're going to get back. So do you believe that a lot of our culture, our males and our females, do you think that they base their expectations of life around social media or just media in general?
I believe they base their expectations upon what they think an expectation is, what they see, what's popular, rather than, is this something that actually fits my life? Is this something that I can maintain, something I can be okay with and live in, rather than, oh, they're doing that, so I got to be that. Oh, I need that new car, so I'm going to get a new car. I can't even afford new shoes. Why am I going to buy a new car?
Right. The logical rationalization is gone.
Right. There's a lot of people that just don't think it through.
Yeah.
Some people, of course, I have a few friends that as soon as they see a new toy or a new pretty face, they jump for it. And I'm like, you idiot, that didn't work last time. Why would you expect it to work now?
Right.
You haven't even recovered from your last stupidity.
Right. I like that a lot, because I feel like a lot of people do that. They tend to jump from things. I feel like, in my opinion, it's more of a codependent nature.
Yeah, and I'll admit, I'm guilty of doing that myself. Am I better at it? I think so. Hopefully my girlfriend thinks so too.
It's good. It's really good. And this is really also good to hear from a male's point of view, because a lot of women, we tend to fear that a lot of men don't seem to stay, I want to say, in one thought frame at a time, and they seem to be kind of all over the place. And I know a lot of women complain, like that battle of the sexes type of thing, that they don't see men really, they see them as rulers but not leaders.
As what?
They see them as more of rulers but than leaders.
That can be argued both ways. Because I see a lot of women, especially in the modern feminist movement, that are very loud, angry, and you can just see it in their faces, if not what they're saying.
Yeah.
If you listen to their words, they're not really saying a whole lot, but when you see their expression and how they present themselves, is that really what society wants as a leader?
Yeah.
And again, that goes to the men too. There's some guys out there that they'll show up in a suit and tie, or they'll show up in a t-shirt and they're yelling the same rhetoric.
Yeah.
Who are you going to listen to? And that question goes to, the answer to that question would be, where are you coming from? Are you going to listen to the suit and tie, or are you going to listen to the t-shirt? A lot of people, they're going to listen to the t-shirt, and a lot of other people, they're going to listen to the suit and tie no matter what they're saying.
Right, so it's 50-50 split either way.
It could be. Or they could be listening to the guy yelling at a lamppost on the corner of the street.
Yeah, that's true too. So it's also, so like going back to that codependent nature, do you feel like people don't really have minds of their own anymore? Especially with expectations.
That is more of a case by case. I'm not going to put that on society as a whole.
Okay.
We all have a level of codependency. Like, the human body is 70% water. We cannot go a day without a drink of water. We can only go 3 days, and then we're going to have some major issues if we don't drink.
Yeah.
We can go 30 days without food, no problem.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we're going to have some problems. Yeah, we're going to feel like we got some other issues, but our body's going to be working perfectly fine.
Yeah.
We all have a level of codependency, even, unfortunately, in society today, especially America and the more modern developed countries, we cannot go a day without our phones. We can't even go an hour without our phones.
True.
So, to say that society, that individuals and society as a whole is codependent, yeah, we are. But in the sense of we need a person, it's not so much we need the person, but we need the feeling of belonging, of being wanted, of being desired, and looked upon for a sense of support and guidance.
Yeah. And it's actually funny you said that. It was a thought that I had earlier about being in a relationship. When you get with someone, you realize you're not just attracting that person, you're literally attracting yourself. So even with being in a relationship and kind of rechecking and checking parts of your life, if you're in a bad spot of your life, then you're going to attract yourself, which is a good and a bad thing all at the same time. Because you're going to get the joy and the pleasure from yourself, but then you're also going to get the negative of somebody else's viewpoints in their lives.
Yeah.
So,
in fact, even just a couple of days ago, a friend of mine I was talking with, we were talking about some other issues, and he said the reason why people are kind of pushing you aside is because you and your girlfriend, you guys are so similar. You guys are attracted to each other, and again, this is his words, in a negative sense, people think you guys deserve each other. When the reality is, we really don't give a flip what a lot of people think or say. We are about each other, and we're about our business.
right. And that's a great thing. That's
yeah,
great.
we do want to reach out and guide people and help people as best we can and be a part of other people's lives. But again, it comes down to their choice. If they want to have that weird stigma of, oh, this happened a few years ago with so-and-so and so-and-so, well, obviously someone hasn't given it up.
That's true. I highly agree. And I think going back to the cell phone, is that more of a basis of need of communication? Because we use a lot of social media for communication anyway. So do you feel like we use our cell phones as a tool to constantly communicate?
Some do. Some people, like me personally, I enjoy my games. I enjoy the apps. Because I'm not naturally inclined to go out and talk to random people, even though I do have that capacity. I'm also an introvert, so I need that alone time, not isolation, but just that simple quiet time. And if I can occupy my mind with something on the phone, then I will.
Okay. I know I'm only saying this because a lot of our youth are using cell phones a lot.
Yeah, one of my nephews, he overused his phone for quite a while, in my opinion. Unfortunately, my cousins don't feel the same way.
Yeah.
But that's his parents, so I just keep the conversation the right way.
Right.
And having that one-on-one time with him, I've told him, look, man, just because you look good in person doesn't mean you look good on social media.
Yeah.
You're trying to put all this stuff out. The reality is, you just posted this from the toilet.
Yeah.
Does it really matter?
Yeah. So it's kind of like a facade that people put on to make them feel better about themselves. Yeah. So, topic that I'm very interested in asking you about is how you view how society views a white male.
My only response to that is, what version of white male are you referring to? Are you referring to California white male, where they can't figure out what bathroom to use? Or are you referring to the guy with the beard who looks homeless? Or are you looking at the guy that he just doesn't give a rip about how society is trying to look at him, and he just wants to go out, make his money, go to church, and keep living? Or we can go to the Midwest, where they could care less about what anyone else is doing. They just want to be on the farm, chucking hay, eating corn, and shooting off some guns.
Okay.
We could also go to the East Coast, both south and north. Okay, they are all artsy in the north, New York, Massachusetts, even some parts of New Jersey. And they're either angry about the Jews, or they're all in the arts, and again, they have no idea what bathroom to use. Go down to the south, you either got the one that accepts their multicolored neighbor, or the one that absolutely despises their multicolored neighbor. Or you go a little further south to our unwanted stepchild in Florida, and nobody wants to look at.
Okay. And the reason why I ask you this is, it's just strictly from Michael's viewpoint, because we put such a huge blame on basically the dominant white male. So I want to take away the stigma, even though it's still there, even though it's very accessible, we see it. Coming from a Christian man who's kind of humbled, and not even kind of, you have humbled yourself, and you've rechecked yourself daily, and you're able to see from both sides of understanding. Do you see where you might see there's more change on your side for your gender and your color? Or do you feel like you guys are more progressive?
I don't speak for all.
Yeah.
I speak for me.
Okay.
And I challenge every male watching this. I challenge every woman watching this. I challenge those that are confused or making their choice of who they identify as. These are daily choices you gotta make. It doesn't matter what's coming at you, it's how you respond. If you react, you're going to get an immediate result, and it's not going to go the way you want. But if you take that time to take a breath and respond to what's going on, you stop at a stoplight, you check your brakes, you check your mirrors, you see what's going on around you, rather than react immediately. Because impulse is there for a reason. It's there to give you a quick jolt, and it's good in an emergency. Mm-hmm. But most of the things coming at you, going to school, going to work, dealing with your coworkers or dealing with your family, it's not an immediate thing you need to deal with. It is taking the time to find out where they're coming from and what's going on.
Right.
Because there's always an expectation of you. And sometimes the expectation is not going to be what you want.
Yeah.
I have to check myself daily because I'm aware that I am a very large white man. And even though I'm looking a little unkempt right now, I normally shave my head and I keep my beard looking very groomed. So I'm very aware that I look aggressive.
Okay.
Even my stance. People think I'm aggressive when the reality is I need to keep my knees bent or I'm going to have a bad back.
Okay.
And I'm aware that I look like I can rip someone apart, and I can, but I choose not to.
Yeah.
I'd rather take my size, my stature, and hold a child and make them feel safe. I'd rather help someone out of their situation. I'd rather go about my business and show a customer that whatever they have had piled up can be gone in an instant. And to be that protector, to be that constant, rather than show off who I think people want me to be.
Right. And then, going back to because it's like that passive aggressive nature. Another thing you said was your stature and your the way you're visual. You said a lot of women who might have been hurt or anything like that. Do you ever see any fear that might be displayed by you, like if you're around certain women or a certain group of women?
Absolutely. Because again, I'm a big guy. There's no getting around that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some women that have come up to me and said that they were scared of me for the longest time, but they saw how I acted. They heard how I talked. That gentleness, that kindness. And yeah, that's strength and authority when it needed to be.
Yes.
But never in an aggressive stance. That my only aggression was to their defense and protection.
Okay.
Never for their harm.
Okay. I only say that because I have a friend who actually is very tall and he has a bigger stature as well. He's black. But with him, he said he had the exact same thing. That's why I had to ask, because I was curious if it was more than just one person, because he wanted to know. So this is for you.
Yeah, and for me, that I've actually found out through different psychological papers that it's called the teddy bear effect in some circles, where, yeah, they're big, but they're cuddly. And yeah, they're still a bear.
Yeah.
So they will cuddle, and they'll also rip their throat out if they need to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that makes sense. And I mean, that kind of might help a lot of women out, because, I mean, we do have that stigma there as well.
And again, it's not at one point it was in my nature to make people back off at every single turn, even by a look that I can adopt, and I'm not going to give that example right now.
Yeah.
But just like with education, everything you learn, you have a responsibility for, because you are learning it and applying it to your life.
Yeah. So
I have to take my stature and my strength and how I present, or how I'm presented, even casually. I'm responsible for that.
Yeah.
And I have to be very aware of that I may walk into a coffee shop and people think I'm some crazy white guy that just came out of the woods.
Yeah.
When the reality is, I just want to grab my drink. I want to sit down and listen to my music and read my book. If something goes sideways, I'm probably going to be a first responder.
It almost seems like, and this is just from this conversation, though, it almost seems like even bringing up your race and your gender is not even to say difficult from you, but it almost sounds like it's a necessity you don't even really want to bring up. Like, you just want to talk about the person you are rather than who's sitting in front of your mirror every single day.
Exactly, and that's something that society has lost. They keep making all these labels, and yes, labels and even some stereotypes are a good thing because it makes us aware of our surroundings. But the reality comes down to, it doesn't matter if you're white, black, male, female, fat, skinny, or something in between. Who the person is what matters.
Yeah.
Everyone has something to contribute to society.
Yeah.
And some people, it's just their perspective, and just giving a listening ear to that perspective.
Right.
They may be completely wrong and off the rocker.
Yeah.
But when it's addressed and spoken about openly and honestly, it can then be corrected in the right way.
Yeah.
And I don't mean correction as in you're wrong and I'm right. No, it's okay. Here's where you may be wrong, and here is a suggestion.
Okay. So it's developing a sense of understanding.
Yeah, understanding, having an empathetic ear,
Yeah.
and actually not even understanding, but listening to the individual. And again, it's a difficult thing because in our society we're so isolated in our own little world,
Yeah.
even in our own little cliquey groups. Like back to high school, we have the skaters, the jocks, the cheerleaders, and all the other different groups. They all isolated themselves.
Right.
So yet in those little groups, they understood one another. They knew where each other was coming from. So they had also that sense of security.
Yeah.
While when they branched out, there might have been issues. But as an adult, some people I've observed that a lot of high school has not ended. There's still the cliques, there's still the division.
I see that.
But that's kind of where I come in, and I know I have a little more of a blunt approach because cliques don't mean anything.
Yeah.
They just don't. They don't help society as a whole. They help a small group, and that's why we have family units.
Yeah.
That's where our comfort, our safety is.
Yeah.
But we're in society. We're working with different people. If you're an entrepreneur, you have to deal with everyone.
Yeah.
You have to deal with every single one. If you're a salesman, you are purposely dealing with people, and sometimes aggressively in that area.
Yeah.
If you're a police officer, you're dealing with everything and everyone. If
Yeah.
you're a politician, if you're a representative, not a politician,
Yeah.
that's something that we can get into later.
Yeah.
But if you are representing your city, your region, you have to represent every one of those individuals to the greater whole.
Yeah.
But if you don't know where your people are or who your people are, then you're not representing anything. You're just some suit in an office.
Lost. Yeah, and that makes sense. You said the family unit. I kind of want to touch on that for a moment. Do you feel like the family unit isn't the way that it should have been? I know that we talk about expectations. So what is expected? Like, what's the model family unit?
There is none. I would argue I've seen examples of good family units. I've seen good examples of amazing families. And I've also seen horrible examples. I've seen examples that I'm surprised CPS has not stepped in, or even the neighbors stepped in and say, what's going on here? Okay, this ain't right, that ain't right. You let go of her, you let go of him. That's not even your child.
Yeah.
And you're acting all this way, and then we wonder why, well,
Yeah,
we have society as it is.
Yeah, and I asked that question because a lot of my studies have to conduct off the family unit. Basically the root of where a child has to come from and how the child functions in society.
Yeah, where the child comes from.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have the traditional roles, mother being nurturer, protector, keeper of the home. We have father who, we can say hunter-gatherer, goes out, brings in the paycheck, and protects the family, teaches the family. We, unfortunately, society as a whole does not have that anymore. Or we have examples of too much and too much, or too little and too little.
Yeah.
Like husband and wife, they're happy, but then they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Then a child comes into the mix. Oh, you're supposed to take care of the child. You're supposed to take care of the dishes. Well, why aren't you getting a job? Why aren't you doing this? Instead of coming together in the beginning and saying, hey, who are you? Who am I? Let's figure this out. They've caused a problem because they've not figured out who they are yet.
So do you think now, the way the family structure is now set up with a lot of single parents, do you feel like it's more of an issue with accepting responsibility on both sides?
It's definitely dangerous because we have a lot of single parent homes, we have a lot of broken homes, we have kids that are going to school and not seeing mom or dad, or whichever the case is, at all. You know, they wake up, they make their own breakfast, they go to school, they come home, empty home.
And they're not even getting that
and
structure.
They got that. And they grow up by themselves, essentially.
Yeah.
They grow up lonely. And they grow up thinking the whole world's against them.
Which creates a lot of sociopathic thinkers or even violent people or offenders, or because they're trying to find themselves.
Right, and then society as a whole is trying to point the blame at that person, but the reality is we've created a society that is so about the individual that nobody cares about the individual.
That's right.
That it's all about me. I have a child, why should I care?
Ironically, it's an ironic, egotistical society. Yeah.
And again, that creates the. I would argue it's an artificial diversity that we have now.
Okay.
In the last 15, 20 years, that our society is split into so many. I'm trying to say this nicely. So many gender identities.
Yeah.
So many political identities and so
Yeah.
many religious identities.
Yeah.
There's been an explosion of all these self-identities that none of them get along.
Because it's not cohesive with what they're trying to find.
Right.
They're trying to find themselves without trying to find themselves. They're trying to identify and claim something that they have no idea what they're claiming.
Right.
And I understand. That's something I've actually thought about myself. So concluding today, and I absolutely loved having you on today because you gave that really good mental stimulation. What, concluding this video and continue on to another video and hoping to do more, like kind of creating a series with this, what is something that you might want to talk about in part, or the second part of this video that people might need to hear about or even think about or might even...
Probably talking about selfishness, because I'm a small business owner myself, and people have a strange stigma about business, and they cannot make the distinction between a corporate environment and a private environment. And then people want to look at retail, they want to look at fast food, they want to look at service, and all the other different varieties. If there are questions about what I think about XYZ, ABC, 1, 2, 3, whatever you got, I want to talk.
Exactly. So what we're trying to do here is, if you have any questions for Michael, because he's really knowledgeable on a lot of things, go ahead and ask the questions, and I'll let him know so he can go ahead and answer in the next video that you guys may have. Like I said, these are just mainly his opinions and his viewpoints. He's not speaking for an entire generation. He's not speaking for a particular gender, and he's not speaking for a particular race. He's just Michael talking for himself. So, like I said, we're gonna continue this again because this is really what's interesting. But yeah, the next one should be on small businesses, and we'll probably kind of give more tips on how to conduct a small business and even owning one, and even helping yourself get out of a financial rut, because you might need to help me out with that one. So, is there anything else, like any questions that you may have for me, or anything you want to?
Honestly, my goal with these interviews, because I've been kind of prepped a little bit, I want to see paper dolls go a little further, dig a little deeper, and I'd like to see paper doll houses grow out of just being paper doll houses. Paper burns and tears and gets wet and gets soggy. This is more. Paper is for creativity and growth and development. Writing down a list and getting creative and colorful. So bring on some more people, bring on more walks of life.
And like I said, do you have any questions for me, or are we?
Where do you want to see paper doll houses go?
My goal is to create a digital library of people's life experiences and their thoughts and opinions, because I feel like we base everything that we see on social media anyway, and so why not get an actual perspective from raw individuals? Okay. So that's basically what I want to do.
Would you see paper doll houses becoming a part of the media as a whole?
Yeah, I could see that. I would actually love that. I would actually love to also bring in people to go out and do the field work that I'm doing currently, and going to get interviews and other people's opinions, because my whole goal is to create not just a sense of understanding on two different people, because we're two different individuals right now from two different walks of life, but I mean, we share pretty much the same viewpoints. So I want that to be a thing, that people recognize that it doesn't matter about the content of their, their character, the whole thing Martin Luther King said. Their skin color, the content of the character, all the different.
Or are you talking about his Birmingham letter?
Yes. He corrects me, and this is why this is a great start of a great friendship. So the great thing about this is that we also learn from one another, which is a good thing, and then we also get to see into each other's backgrounds, which is a great thing, and it creates that communication and that community. So that's where I want to go from there. You guys have a great night.